Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. Welcome to another chess recap video. Today we are going to analyze a game between Faraja Mumo and Nashipae Bella. This game was played during the final round of the 15th edition of the Capablanca Cup Chess Championship. So in this game we are going to look at how sometimes when you have a dilemma or you have two moves to choose, you must be really careful on which move you are going to choose. Otherwise it can either be a winning move or you are losing move. So that's exactly what happened during the game. So without much further ado, let's dive into the game. So the game begins with c4, the English opening, knight to f6, knight to c3 by white, g6 by black, g3 by white, bishop to g7, flanking the bishop, bishop to d2, white does the same, short castles by black, knight to f3 by white, knight to f6, and then short castles by white. Pawn push to b6. This pawn push was not the best move in this position. The best move will be to play e5, challenging the center, but instead black went from pushing the pawn to b6, preparing to flank to the bishop to b7. And similarly, white also did the same mistake of playing the move b3. Instead, the best move was actually to push the pawn to d4, also occupying the center, but both of them missed those critical moves, which are usually opening principles of chess when opening up the game. So the game continues: bishop to b7, bishop to b2, and then e6, finally d4, then d5 by black, pawn takes, knight takes, and then e3. So rook to e8 by black, and then rook to c1, queen to d7, knight to d2, rerouting the knight, rook a to d8. Now this move, rook a to d8, wasn't the best move in this position, but rather the best move was to play knight c to b4. The beauty of this move is that it threatens to fork the bishop and the rook, and also at the same time it threatens to win a pawn after knight takes on c3. But during the game, black missed that move, but instead he played the move rook a to d8. So knight takes, pawn takes, and then finally queen to c2, kind of extraying the pawn on c7. Black responds by playing the move rook to c8, and then here white plays the move bishop to a3. Believe it or not, this move bishop to a3 looked like a simple move, but it's actually a blunder. It blunders the pawn. There's a beautiful tactic here that black missed during the game, and the tactic is to pick the pawn on d4 using the bishop, and after by any chance if white takes up the pawn, you have this beautiful move whereby the knight picks up the pawn, and now you can't stop the fork of the knight, of the king and the rook, and that is a good tactic. But the beauty of it is that it doesn't end, it's not forced. It ends up with picking the pawn if white responds with playing the move queen to d3. So if I can just show you, if maybe bishop takes, and here the best move is actually to play the move queen to d3, but in the event that maybe white takes up the bishop, you pick up the knight, attacking the queen goes maybe somewhere like d3, and you have this beautiful fork, you're forking the king and the rook, and you're going to win material in that case. So this tactic ends up with picking up the pawn on d4, but during the game white was able to be spared by black. since black missed that tactic. Instead he played the move pawn to f5. So the game continued, knight to b1, rerouting the knight. Then black did the same, knight to a7, knight to c3, and finally pawn push to c5, trying to opening the c file. So pawn takes, and then here a beautiful tactic, a beautiful great move by white. He was able to find this move of putting more pressure on the c5 pawn, and black didn't respond appropriately. He played the move queen to b5, and this allows white to win a pawn simply by picking up with the bishop. But funny enough, or unfortunately enough, white missed picking up that particular pawn on c5, but instead they attacked the queen by playing the move knight to c3. And here black played the best move of removing that threat by picking up with the knight with the bishop, and white had to pick up the bishop, so and the tactic no longer exists. In this position, black found the best move, and the best move was to push the pawn forward to d4, and white responded appropriately by picking up the pawn using the other pawn. Now in this position is where we get to the critical point of the game. As you can see, white has two moves that two crucial moves that he has to choose from. First of all, he can decide to pick up the pawn on d4, attacking the queen, or he can go for this exchange, picking up the bishop on g2. Now one of these moves is winning and the other one is losing. If you want, you can try and figure out which one is which loses, which wins, and you see if you can find the best move in this position. Unfortunately, during the game, black didn't find the best move. Actually, the best move is to pick up the bishop first instead of picking up the pawn first. So during the game, black picked up the pawn first, and the disadvantage with this move is that it gives white the initiative to go for an attack that it becomes very easy to stop, simply because of this beautiful continuation after queen takes on d4. Even if you pick up the bishop on g2, you actually late because of this nasty move, bishop to b2. And now bad things are coming your way, since you have this nice battery that is eyeing up on g7. So in this position, picking up with the pawn is actually a bad idea, but rather you're supposed to pick up the bishop first, and here white is supposed to respond by pushing this pawn forward, preparing to bring the bishop to b2. Now black has this saving grace move of playing the move knight to c6, and now if you bring your bishop to b2, I simply block it using the knight by playing the move knight to d4. Now the battery is closed, you can't your attack is kind of hindered in a way. So that's the major difference between those two moves in this position. So after pawn takes here in this position, black must really be careful on which move to take. Picking up the pawn will be disastrous, but nevertheless, during the game, black missed the correct continuation of picking up the bishop, but instead he picked up the pawn, and now this, after queen takes, it gives white this particular attack initiative, whereby you are threatening to give a checkmate on g7. So the best continuation is actually to block with your queen, and now in that particular continuation you're going to lose a full rook, and things will be very bad. So in that continuation, no matter what black tries, he'll be down material, because as you can see, white is having two rooks and black is having a rook and a knight, and also in terms of pawns, white has an extra pawn. So it's pretty things are pretty worse for black from this stage. Unfortunately, during the game, black played this move king to f8, which is a blunder. He missed the blocking using the queen, but nevertheless he's still losing either way, because of this continuation which was played during the game. Queen to g7 check, and now king to e7, the only move. I'll give you a check again, and now the king enters into this beautiful mating pattern. After bishop to a3 check, king to d5, the only move, and from here is a mating 5, whereby it's unstoppable. It's a first mate. If you want, you can try and pause the video and try to find the mating 5 from here. It's actually not an easy mate to find, but if you want to, you can try and find the best continuation. Unfortunately, during the game, Bella didn't play the correct continuation for the match, but even though he's still winning, but it was just a matter of all roads leading to Rome. It was just a matter of finding which one was the fastest. So the correct continuation is after queen takes on f7 check, king to d4, the only move. This move bishop to e2 is a blunder. The correct continuation is actually to give a check on f4. So either way, whatever black blockades with, it still ends up in a checkmate. If maybe, for example, he blocks with the rook, I give you a check on d1, and then if you block with your queen, I give you a beautiful checkmate there. And also, if in this position you block using your bishop, I still give you a check using the rook. Then if you block up with your queen, I give you a check, which is forced, and then after you pick up, I give you a beautiful checkmate on e3. So during the game, Bella missed that continuation, but instead he went up for giving this check with the bishop on b2. So he's still winning, but it is much slower than giving the check on f1. So king to d3, the only move, and then here check, then king to e2, and then after king takes the bishop, here black blundered a beautiful checkmate in one by picking up, by not seeing the move queen to f3, which gives a beautiful checkmate because it protects the rook, and also there's no escape for the king. And that's how the game ended. White was able to find that beautiful checkmate on f3 and won the game. So it was a good game. Black really didn't play so good moves, and White was able to capitalize on black's weaknesses and not finding the best move, and that led to the downfall of black. So good games from these two players, and thanks for watching, and see you in my next recap. Bye bye for now.